cybersecurity by bringing in a bunch of panelists. So I'll just introduce them briefly now. Up first, we have Alvin Teoh. He is a Cybersecurity Manager for MDEC, which is the Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation. We have Technical Program Director Peter Leong joining us. All the way from the USA, we have Vidit Arora, who is the Senior Director for Global Technologies at Securonics. And moderating this panel will be Fong Choong Fook, from the expert penetration testing firm LGMS. So guys, when you're ready, you can begin the panel. Fong, you can start things off.
Thank you, Caroline. So good morning, everyone, and it's a nice day. And then thank you, Sina, just now for sharing a very insightful sharing on the cloud security. So today with me, we have three very distinguished panelists. So please introduce yourself first. Alvin, start from you.
Hi everyone, good morning. My name is Alvin. I'm from MDEC. So basically, I'm on the cybersecurity department, which is focused on industry development in cybersecurity industry in Malaysia.
Peter.
Hi, I'm Peter here. I actually been in the financial sector, mainly in the IT, from a infrastructure, applications, and cybersecurity perspective. Also managing some programs. And here I am actually also doing some initiative on fintech as well as blockchain. Thanks.
Thank you, Peter. Vidit.
Hi, guys. This is Vidit. I lead the global technology strategy for Securonics on helping them design their next generation SIM and take it out to the market.
Thank you, Vidit. So my name is Fong, by the way. Sorry. Good morning, everyone. So I'll be a moderator today. So today we're going to talk about, in general, we're going to cover two topics. The first topic we're going to cover is pretty much on the cloud security, since we are on the same theme here. And then the second topic, I guess this is very much will be interesting to Malaysian, since we are looking at a movement control order. I think we could possibly go for another movement control order. So we're going to cover these two topics. So let me first start off with the first question directing to Vidit and Peter, right? So in terms of enterprise strategies, what do you think have changed? Like over the years, what are the with the shift of cyber defense strategies in adopting cloud computing, right? What are the things you have observed that have changed so far, gentlemen?
Vidit, you want to go first?
Sure. I think you know, a lot has changed in the recent times, and I think the biggest thing that has come is that, especially due to the world that we live in with COVID and everything, things have moved at a much rapid speed than was expected, or than most organizations were prepared for. I think you know, if you started from the ground up, the controls have changed that used to exist in an on-premise or in a control or in your data center based environment to now a completely virtual environment. Your level of governance and monitoring has completely changed, because now you have to think about cloud like an extension of on-prem. And it has to be protected in that way. It has to be architected in that way. So definitely, I think in just in the last few years, but just in the last few months, I think a lot has changed, where companies were to where they are today, or where they have to be ready to be in early next year. Do you want to add something to it?
Yeah, Peter. What do you think has changed so far over the years when people adopting cloud computing? I mean, from your observation.
Well, probably for me, from a management perspective, I guess like what we did say, you know, what I actually observed is that probably those early days, security is just a security team matters. But in these days, it has spread across the business, even across the whole IT team, where you probably need to involve the risk management team as part of the whole totality strategies for your cloud hosting. Probably you have to involve your network and server team as well, because you know, it is just not about security team in itself. You have to take care a lot about the other endpoints. When you actually implement business initiatives that includes your IoTs. So all these have to be incorporated in the whole entire strategy of doing hosting out to the cloud. So this is something that I can see has changed over the years, and it's a positive change, I would say. And probably cybersecurity and cloud hosting is probably something that the entire IT teams and stakeholders are owning it.
Thank you, Peter. Well, just to follow up on the same questions again, in terms of cyber defense strategies, in terms of the way how we defend our organizations, right? What have you observed people have changed when they're adopting cloud computing in terms of defense strategies?
Yeah, I think primarily to start off with, right, when it comes to defense strategies in the cloud, like I said first, I think firstly the thought process has to be to go in with a cloud first strategy where you know that this is where your main infrastructure, this is where your crown jewels, this is where your business is going to operate from. I think understanding that and kind of coming with an intervention on that is very important. And then on top of that, it's very important to firstly get on the same groundwork as you were with your on-prem infrastructure, right? The same basic compliance levels, the same level of visibility. And the two key things that, at least from my experience, what I've seen in the cloud is the first, and I think that's kind of the most important thing is access control. It seems like a very, very basic thing, but the most of the times or what we've seen is that identity intelligence, making sure people have the right level of permissions in the cloud. Somebody is not able to go in and by mistake open something out to the internet, or go in and make a config change, whether that be through malicious intent of a sabotage, or that be through by mistake. I think having that level of role-based access governance is very, very critical when it comes to cloud strategies. Because in on-prem, it was a very controlled environment. Only people who had access to it had access to it. You could control it, you could limit it. But now you can access it from anywhere. Anybody who has the privileges can make any type of changes. And elasticity does bring in that scope of error. And I think the other point that's very important is having visibility, whether it be from a monitoring perspective, whether it be from an alerting perspective, having visibility across your entire cloud infrastructure, right? Most of the time, what you see is people have that, I'm using AWS, so I'm using these 3 AWS products. Is that how we dealt with on-prem? You always, you had point solutions, but then you had coverage over those point solutions. You were gathering the data for those point solutions in a centralized SIM or a centralized product, running analytics on it, getting visibility across your entire on-prem infrastructure. I think the same strategy has to apply to cloud, where you have a complete visibility across all your cloud infrastructure, your cloud applications, everything is getting logged to one place. You have the right firewalls, the web access firewalls, the CASBs, and everything that corresponds to on-prem.
Thank you, Vidit. I think if I can summarize, I'm try to take some notes here. You can summarize some of the points that you made, right? Basically, the emphasis is on the visibility and control, right?
Right.
Yeah. So the next question is for Peter. Peter, for those who are already adopting cloud technologies, right, what would you recommend as some of the best practices they can apply?
Well,
when it comes to security,
I would say if you get to look at cloud by itself, as comparatively to your on-prem, like we did say, access control is one of them. I guess it would be tighter. Yeah, access control is one, and I would say that probably from a risk management perspective, there should be some level of annual site audits to your cloud provider, right? That whether it's going to be a surprise check or a plan check, that's something that need to be incorporated, I'd say, right? And apart from that, I think from a financial service perspective, I think data is very key. So apart from just doing the portion of site, I guess internally, when data coming into your organization to your firewall, there should be certain checkpoints as well, so that whether you enable your staff or employees to actually download those files, whether they are from official sites or authorized sites. I think that's something that not pushing, or in this sense, the whole responsibilities and accountabilities to the cloud provider, but I guess as your own business and stakeholders, I think you have certain level of responsibility as well. So I guess it's a joint responsibilities, and I can see that in recent years, from a financial service industry perspective, there are more collaborations with service providers in addressing some of these cyber threats. So that's a good thing that we can see. And of course, from a regulator perspective, we have seen that our central bank Negara has also implementing the RMIT. So that's something positive for us.
Thank you, Peter. If I may summarize the points here you made, for the best practices, right? In terms of best practices, it would be important for the management of the organizations who are adopting the cloud have a good administrative controls, starting from policies and procedures, right?
Yep.
And that it's interesting that you mentioned about the RMIT, because this is one of the new guidelines issued by Bank Negara, the Central Bank of Malaysia, recently that talks about security controls. And I think from cloud adoption's perspective, right? How do you see Malaysia? Do you see Malaysia we have widely adopting cloud technologies when it comes to computing? What do you see about this?
There is a positive shift from what I can see. I know in those days it's very much challenge to penetrate into the FSI, but I think with recent more support from the regulators, whether it's BNM or whether it's for investment bank, it may be the SC, right, or Busa. I think that all positive support from every angle. And also I know some initiative that SC is doing in terms of, so that's a good thing. And I know the rate probably not as fast track as what is needed, but I think we have achieved a reasonable level of rate in Malaysia, I would say.
Thank you, Peter. Now, Vidit, coming from the US, right? Do you see a rapid? Yeah. Sorry, I think I lost you back there. Sorry, Vidit, do you coming from the US, right? Coming from the US, do you see a rapid adoption for cloud adoptions because of the pandemic, or do you see any changes in terms of cloud adoption in the US?
Yeah, actually, we're seeing a lot of it in US and actually across the globe, even in Singapore, Malaysia, India regions. We're seeing this digitalization kind of be on steroids, for lack of a better term. You are companies that had either no plans or they were still in the phase of figuring out in the next 2 to 3 years moving to the cloud. They've either been pushed to the cloud, and sometimes it comes from them. Like a lot of times, what we've seen is that there are practical problems that need to be solved. Like you want to monitor your remote workers, and they're not connected to your VPN, they're not connected to your environment, and you need to know what they're doing on their machine. So you kind of have no option but to push the data out to the cloud, so you can collect the data in real time. So I think the circumstances that you're living in, it's expedited the movement to the cloud, and I think necessity is always the mother of all invention. I think that it's this that is causing the push, and overall it's for the good. I think if you look at it from whether it's from a TCO perspective or from the kind of visibility that you can get, I think is the right choice. And we're also seeing a lot that it has really helped. It has really helped companies because now they don't have to worry about managing and all of that. They can actually focus on threats. We are seeing a very, very big rise because of cloud, that customers and everybody is now actually focusing on the end results rather than spending a lot of time on other things. So yeah, I think there's a lot of positive shift.
Yeah, I think the pandemic really also changing the way how we think work should be done, right? I mean, it's changing the way how we work, changing the way how we think work should be done, in terms of our working culture. Now, there's a questions regarding, I mean, back to, since we're on the same track about the pandemic, right? Peter, you know that in Malaysia we have implemented the movement control order, MCO, right? So, and since the MCO has been enforced since back in March, a significant portion of the Malaysian workforce has been relying on personal unsecured devices while working remotely, right? I think this is over some concerns some enterprises, some management enterprises may have working remotely. Now, how can business, do you think, can encourage proper cybersecurity adoptions practices in both private and public sector? Let's talk about private sector. How do you think business can encourage proper security adoptions when people are working remotely?
Well, yeah, I do know such kind of concerns have been raised, but since the MCO started, for myself, it's like I've been working from home since March. Fully go into the office only once in a month, kind of thing, right? So, I'm not so sure whether from a private commercial perspective, it may be a concern, but I think as long as you have tested your BCP on a regular basis, it's just like you're working from anywhere at any time. Of course, during the pandemic, it's actually accelerated the percentage of usage from of your staff. Force members actually working from home or anywhere else, right? But as long as your basic is there, you have your firewalls in place, whatever devices that actually your staff actually may be accessing, you need that second level protection and also verification in terms of VPN. All those are in place. I think that will be good. But to add to that, what Sina was saying is that earlier on, as long as you treat as your home, right? You're actually accessing your home. Yeah, okay. You actually open the gates, but you have your doors, keys to your doors. As long as those keys are actually being secured, right? Each has their own keys. I think we are all good for that. So that's what my thoughts will be, because I guess you put everything in place. Wherever they may be accessing from, with their own devices. So you put your second defense and or your basics firewalls and VPNs in place. I think that would be a good deal. And of course, that will actually also have to take a look at your performance, whether bandwidth need to be increased, because now it has actually accelerated by leaps and bounds the percentage of traffic that is coming into your host.
Thank you, Peter. So if I may suggest, right, Vidit, if there's a way that you can advise top management about remote working, if there are three things you would advise top management regarding remote working, what would you advise them?
I think the first thing I would advise is that the focus first has to be operations, making sure that your business as usual can continue, and I think that is key, because a lot of people, a lot of companies were never prepared to that they would ever let people access their documents or access their environment from home. I think with that, the second topic automatically comes down to making sure that you don't compromise on your security when it because people are working from home, right? It might need you to buy a couple of more technologies, change the way you approach the problem, look at a set of threats that you never that previously were not possible. So definitely, I think expanding your realm of cybersecurity, or expanding your horizon of, or you're increasing your attack surface inevitably, right? So you got to be able to, you need the right technologies and the right visibility to cover for that. And I think the third most thing I would say is that you have to approach cloud. You have to take the leap, but take it with a sense of with a sense of verification and governance. Whether it's buying a cloud application or buying a cloud SIM, verify that that they have the right controls in place, they have the right ISO certifications, or they have the right certification, the right compliance. The same thing that you would do on premise. Make sure that your vendors are following the same security protocols as governed by you.
Thank you, Peter. What would you advise for enterprise when it comes to security of remote working?
Well, from a enterprise perspective, I would say pretty much just you need to actually further enhance your security probably features. Look at your criteria settings to probably tighten it up, especially during this time, right? Because you know, threats can be coming from anywhere. You know, especially as human, I think human factors is one of the weakest. You know, like what you say earlier on from a devices, you know, you never know, you know, devices they plug in into your network, you know, there could be some hidden stuff that actually are, you know, not on purpose, but, you know, as human, you know, they are probably, you know, ignorance about that, right? So we probably need to pull in more checks, right? Put in your DLPs maybe, right? Implement a tighter conditions and requirements. That's what my thought will be, and I would say, you know, probably do a more on a day-to-day basis in terms of your security reports and verification as well to actually spot any unforeseen items that you may want to pick up.
Thanks. Thank you, Peter. I guess the cloud and also the remote working also plays hand in hand. I mean, they're closely related because of the movement control order. We all have to work from home, and then suddenly there are some restrictions we still need to apply. But obviously, this has also added into the challenges of how do we implement security? How do we pass down the security culture to remote workers? So in view of time, I would like to thank everyone. We're going to pass the session back to Caroline. Thank you, Peter, and thank you, Vidit, and thanks for everyone for joining us. Now let me pass back to Caroline. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.